Emotional intelligence, EI, represents the ability to understand and manage our own emotions, empathize with others, and navigate relationships effectively. What makes EI particularly valuable is that unlike IQ, which remains relatively fixed throughout our lives, emotional intelligence can be learned and developed at any stage. This distinction is crucial because it means that regardless of our innate cognitive abilities, we have the capacity to strengthen the emotional skills that often determine our success in work, relationships, and personal fulfillment. The central paradox that Goleman addresses is this: highly intelligent people frequently struggle with focus and attention. They may possess exceptional analytical abilities, yet find themselves overwhelmed, distracted, or unable to sustain the concentration necessary for meaningful achievement. The answer to this puzzle lies not in intelligence itself, but in emotional intelligence and how we manage our attention, a skill that is deeply connected to our emotional state. Emotional intelligence operates across 4 interconnected domains, each essential to understanding why focus eludes even the brightest minds. Self-awareness forms the foundation of emotional intelligence. It involves understanding what we feel and why we feel it. This domain shapes our intuition, informs our decision-making, and anchors our moral judgment. When we lack self-awareness, we often don't recognize the emotional triggers that hijack our attention or the internal states that undermine our focus. Self-management is the ability to regulate distressing emotions so they don't interfere with our goals, while simultaneously harnessing positive emotions to maintain motivation and passion. For intelligent people, this becomes critical because their cognitive capacity allows them to ruminate, to think in circles about problems, which can actually drain their ability to focus. Self-management provides the brake pedal they often lack. Empathy involves sensing and understanding the emotions of others through 3 channels: cognitive empathy, the ability to take someone else's perspective; emotional empathy, the capacity to feel with others; and empathic concern, the genuine desire to care for their well-being. Empathy is essential because our social connections and the quality of our relationships directly influence our emotional state and consequently our ability to concentrate. Relationship management leverages our self-awareness and empathy to lead, influence, inspire, and foster productive interpersonal relationships. Strong relationships create psychological safety and emotional stability, both of which are necessary conditions for sustained focus and flow. The evidence for emotional intelligence's impact is compelling across multiple domains. Educational research demonstrates that programs teaching EI in schools improve behavior, academic performance, and social skills, outcomes that traditional intelligence measures alone cannot predict. Students who develop emotional intelligence don't just perform better academically, they demonstrate improved conduct and stronger peer relationships. In professional settings, leadership studies consistently reveal that emotional intelligence is essential for effective leadership and for fostering high-performing teams. Paradoxically, many organizations still prioritize raw intelligence when selecting leaders, overlooking the emotional capacities that actually determine whether leaders can inspire teams, manage conflicts, and maintain focus under pressure. An important nuance Goleman emphasizes is that men and women may exhibit different average strengths across EI domains, yet high-performing leaders excel regardless of gender. There is no single EI profile for success. Rather, excellence emerges from developing strengths across all 4 domains while managing weaknesses. Additionally, cultural context significantly affects how emotional intelligence is expressed. The way empathy manifests in collectivist cultures differs from individualist cultures. Communication styles vary and relationship norms shift. However, the fundamental capacities, understanding emotions, managing them, empathizing with others, and building relationships, remain universal human capabilities that transcend cultural boundaries. One of Goleman's most important contributions is connecting emotional intelligence to the concept of flow, that optimal performance state where focus becomes effortless. Flow is characterized by total immersion in a task, flexibility in responding to challenges, perfect alignment between skill level and task difficulty, and genuine enjoyment. In flow, time seems to disappear, self-consciousness vanishes, and performance reaches its peak. The question becomes, what allows someone to enter and sustain flow? The answer is emotional regulation. When anxiety, frustration, or distraction dominates our emotional landscape, flow becomes impossible. Leaders can help others achieve flow by setting clear goals, providing immediate feedback, and carefully matching task difficulty to individual abilities, creating the conditions where attention naturally settles into focus. Neuroscience reveals that our social brains operate through mirror neurons, which allow us to sense and unconsciously reflect the emotional states of others. Leaders with high emotional intelligence leverage this neural reality to influence the emotional states of their teams, creating environments where calm, focus, and positive energy spread contagiously. The social dimension of attention often goes unrecognized, yet it profoundly shapes whether entire groups can achieve collective flow. A fundamental insight from Goleman's work is treating attention as a mental muscle that can be strengthened through deliberate practice. Like physical fitness, attentional capacity improves with training and deteriorates with neglect. Mindfulness practices, intentional focus exercises, and structured attention training directly strengthen this capacity. Simultaneously, modern life presents unprecedented threats to attention. Digital devices, notifications, social media, and the constant stream of information deliberately engineered to capture our focus create an environment where sustained attention becomes increasingly difficult. Intelligent people may be particularly vulnerable because their minds naturally seek stimulation, making them susceptible to the lure of novelty and constant connectivity. Simple practices like mindful breathing, where we deliberately focus on the breath and gently return attention when it wanders, improve both attentional capacity and emotional regulation. These aren't mystical practices, they're neurological exercises that strengthen the brain circuits responsible for focus and emotional control. Even brief daily practice yields measurable improvements in both attention span and emotional resilience. The development of emotional intelligence begins in childhood during a period of remarkable neuroplasticity when the brain is most receptive to learning. Childhood experiences literally shape brain structure and function through repeated neural activation. Early training in attention, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills produces lasting benefits that extend far into adulthood, improving academic performance, emotional stability, and social outcomes. Programs implementing social emotional learning, SEL, demonstrate concrete benefits. Specific exercises, such as breathing buddies, where children practice synchronized breathing with a partner, teach both attention and self-regulation simultaneously. These practices build neural pathways that children carry with them throughout life. The famous marshmallow test, where children who can delay gratification to receive a larger reward later, reveals something profound. The ability to manage impulses and sustain focus predicts long-term success more reliably than IQ or socioeconomic status. This capacity to resist immediate gratification in service of larger goals is fundamentally an emotional intelligence skill, not a cognitive one. For leaders and educators seeking to strengthen both emotional intelligence and attention in others, the path forward involves creating intentional environments. Rather than simply demanding focus, they should match tasks to individual skill levels, provide constructive feedback that guides improvement without shaming, and actively promote positive emotional states. An anxious person cannot focus, a disengaged person will not concentrate. By attending to emotional dimensions, focus naturally improves. Mindfulness and structured attention training benefit both adults and children, offering practical tools that can be integrated into educational and workplace settings. Organizations that dedicate time to these practices consistently report improved decision-making, better relationships, and higher performance. Equally important is encouraging empathy and facilitating healthy social interactions. Strong communities and cooperative teams emerge when people understand each other's perspectives and genuinely care about each other's well-being. These social bonds create the psychological safety that allows people to relax their defensive vigilance and direct their attention toward shared goals. The paradox of intelligent people losing focus finds its resolution in emotional intelligence and attention management. Raw cognitive ability alone is insufficient for success. What distinguishes high achievers is their capacity to understand their emotions, regulate their responses, empathize with others, and maintain focus toward meaningful goals. By intentionally developing emotional intelligence in ourselves and cultivating it in others, Starting from childhood and contending throughout life, we enhance decision-making, deepen relationships, improve leadership, and ultimately increase life satisfaction. The path to sustained focus runs through the landscape of emotion, not around it.